You ever have one of those moments where you realize, oh wow, I might actually be living in a sitcom? Because that's exactly how I felt the day my neighbor tried to steal my swimming pool. Yeah, you heard that right. Not borrow my pool, not ask nicely to use it. Nope, full on this is ours now. Hope you brought snacks energy. Sometimes I look back on it and honestly wonder if there were hidden cameras somewhere because nobody in their right mind would believe this was real life. But trust me, it was. So here's how it all started. I'd spent 5 years, 5 whole years, scrimping and saving, skipping vacations, grinding through 60-hour work weeks as a freelance graphic designer just to have enough for a pool. Every client deadline, every night eating instant noodles instead of splurging on takeout, it all led up to this moment. And finally, there it was, my beautiful 30-foot, 500-gallon pool sparkling in my backyard like my own private slice of paradise. I know it sounds silly, but the first time I dove in, I legit teared up. I'd made it. I had my sanctuary. That lasted about 3 months. And then Karen moved in next door. Let me set the scene. Imagine a woman in her mid-40s, hair so aggressively blonde it practically glowed in the dark, always standing like she's about to call the manager, hands on hips, eyes narrowed. First time I met her, she marched right up to my door with a clipboard and an attitude. "Hi, I'm Karen, new VP of Neighborhood Standards on the HOA board." Before I could say a word, she started in on how my mailbox was exactly 2 inches too far from the curb according to bylaw 7 point whatever. I remember thinking, okay, so that's how it's going to be. In her first week, she'd already slapped violation notices on half the street garden. Gnomes not approved, lawn edges not crisp enough, you get the vibe. Meanwhile, the actual community pool was a sad little thing over by the mailboxes, a broken fountain, maybe 6 feet across, surrounded by a chain-link fence straight out of Alcatraz. Most neighbors just ignored it, but I'm pretty sure Karen had pictured herself moving into some HOA Shangri-La ruling over pool parties like the queen bee. Instead, she got a glorified kiddie puddle. And the real problem, my pool, my pride and joy, was right there, practically visible from her kitchen window, taunting her every day. Things escalated on a random Tuesday morning. I was out checking my mail, still half asleep, and there she was, popped up out of nowhere, like she'd been waiting behind a bush just for this moment. "Hi there," she chirped syrupy sweet, which is always code for prepare for nonsense. She told me with all the confidence in the world that the board had added my pool to the official community amenity list, and they'd be having a neighborhood swim day this Saturday, so she just needed my gate code. I thought she was joking. I literally laughed out loud. Nope. She doubled down, quoting some imaginary bylaw claiming the HOA had jurisdiction over amenities like pools because of an easement on my property. Let me back up a sec. My pool was private. I read every single document when I bought the house 3 times. There was no easement, no HOA clause, nada. So I told her as politely as I could manage, "Karen, you might want to check those bylaws again. This is definitely private property. Any uninvited access is trespassing." She just rolled her eyes. "Honey, I know what I'm talking about. The swim day is happening either way. See you Saturday." And off she went, convinced she just won some battle. I spent the next 2 hours rifling through every bit of paperwork I owned, deed property survey, HOA docs. Exactly as I thought, nothing gave the HOA any right to my backyard. So I crafted the world's most professional email cited bylaw numbers attached. The survey clarified that my pool was private and just for fun included the non-emergency police number. Her response: 2 sentences, see you Saturday. Bring snacks, I kid you not. The next morning I find a bright yellow flyer in my mailbox. Looked like someone discovered every font in Microsoft Word and decided to use them all. Grand opening HOA pool day in rainbow letters, my address right underneath. Saturday, 1:00 p.m. Let's celebrate our new community pool refreshments provided. Sponsored by Karen, of course. She was hosting a trespassing party and advertising it to the entire neighborhood. So I stomp over to Karen's porch, flyer in hand, ready to lay down the law. She's sitting there with two of her cronies stuffing more flyers into a box. I tell her, "You need to stop this right now. You're inviting people to trespass." She just laughs, full-on Disney villain cackle. "Don't be so selfish, sweetie. It's for the community. If you lock the gate, we'll just cut it off and bill you." One of her friends even pipes up, "It's not like you use the pool every day." Some people are just naturally selfish. I almost admired the audacity. At this point, I realized this was way above my pay grade, so I called in the big guns, my buddy Mark, pool guy extraordinaire and low-key prank legend. I told him the whole story from Karen's gate code shakedown to the impending pool party of doom. He just laughed. "Don't worry, I got you. I'll run a diagnostic on your pool system tomorrow." Turns out Mark had this special tracer dye for detecting leaks, totally safe, non-toxic, but aggressively blue. The kind of blue that clings to hair, swimsuits, and skin, especially if you've got, let's say, chemically processed hair. Mark explains the whole process perfectly, legit pool maintenance. He's got the paperwork, licenses, the works. If anyone asks, he was just doing his job. The fact that trespassers might leave looking like a bunch of Smurfs, pure coincidence. Friday night, Mark shows up with his truck clipboard, all official. He adds the dye to the pool won't be obvious until someone jumps in and stirs up the water. We set up no trespassing signs, double-check my security cameras, and I called the police non-emergency line to give them a heads up. Everything was set. If Karen wanted to play HOA games, I was ready. Saturday, just before 1, I'm inside with my camera ready, nerves jangling. Out the window, I see Karen rolling cooler portable speaker entourage of 15 kids in tow. She stops at the gate, cackles at my big new signs, and makes a big show of unlatch the gate. I left it unlocked on purpose. If she wanted to prove a point, she was going to get the full experience. Karen strutted right to the edge of my pool. Last one in's a rotten egg, she shouts, and cannonballs into the water. It was instant. The pool goes from crystal clear to neon blue like someone nuked a Smurf factory. Karen pops up screaming, her hair now streaked with blue swimsuit, turning color skin-stained. 3 other adults, 2 kids, all blue. It was chaos. I grabbed my phone, walked out, recording everything. "Karen, you okay? You look a little blue." I couldn't help myself. She lost it, yelling about poisoning, calling the cops. I told her, "Oh, you don't need to do that." I already did. Like clockwork, a police cruiser pulls in. The officer steps out, and you can tell he's seen a lot, but even he looks surprised at the sight of a blue mob dripping all over my patio. Karen's screaming, "Arrest her. She assaulted us." The cop looks at me. "Ma'am, you called about trespassing." "Yep." I hand him all the documentation, property survey, warning emails, pool service records, dye safety sheet. He looks at Karen. "Ma'am, why are you blue?" She sputters. Blames me. The officer calmly explains, "HOA rules don't override private property. Signs are clear. You were warned." He cited them for trespassing, told them to leave immediately. The walk of shame was legendary. Karen blue as a Smurf stomping past the neighbors. Kids gawking, parents whispering. Someone even filmed it for the neighborhood Facebook group. Comments poured in. "That's what you get for trying to steal someone's pool. Where do you buy that dye?" Finally, someone stood up to her. Karen tried to lawyer up, but my attorney sent over the security footage and Mark's paperwork. Her lawyer dropped it in a heartbeat. The actual HOA president, who, fun fact, Karen wasn't even officially replacing, sent me an apology, reviewed her decisions, and the next newsletter quietly erased any mention of community pools. Karen went dark after that. No more HOA meetings, no violation notices, nothing on Facebook. Word on the street is it took weeks and several expensive salon visits to get that blue out of her hair. Every time I saw her after she'd crossed the street to avoid me. Guess she didn't want to risk a rematch. That whole mess taught me something. Bullies like Karen count on people being too polite to push back. Sometimes the only way to deal with a bully is to call their bluff and let the world see what happens. And let's be real, sometimes karma comes in a bottle of pool dye. 6 months later, my pool is still my happy place. I sit out there with my coffee water sparkling lights glowing blue in the evening, no HOA drama in sight. Karen still lives next door, but she's learned finally that community property is a legal fact, not just her opinion. And if you're ever tempted to let someone walk all over you, remember sometimes the best way to prove something isn't theirs is to let them try to take it and watch what happens. So, what about you? Ever had a neighbor cross the line or a run-in with an overzealous HOA? Drop your story or your take on justice in the comments, because I have a feeling I'm not the only one out here dealing with community Karens. Let's hear what you think. Where do you draw the line between standing your ground and keeping the peace?